Okay, everyone, finally we are ready to start with our writing lessons. We will start slowly, but I want you to constantly think about your writing ideas, how you're going to start and end your stories. Okay, you have paper, you've got paper to practice with, and hopefully you have lots of pencils. And this is going to take us some time. We're going to start slowly. Okay, let's get started right now. So, when we write, we can always get good ideas from our life, something that's happened to us, something that makes us think we just had a special moment. And how we can write about it is what we're going to be talking about here. Now, sometimes we can't think of a special moment, but we feel inspired. We get a great idea from another book that we've read. And here are some books that we'll be looking at this year. Katie Wu Gets the Flu, Blueberries for Sal, The Dog Who Belonged to No One, A Chair for My Mother, Owl Moon, Runaway Ralph, Tiki Tiki Tembo no Sarimbo Cherry by Ruchi Piperi Pembo, which is my favorite book of all time, Rabbit and Robot, Ivy and Bean, Night of the Veggie Monster, The Leaving Morning, and many, many, many more. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about writing and we're going to learn about it. And we are going to study the master authors, the great writers. Okay, because master authors, they don't just tell stories, they tell meaningful stories. So I want you to pay attention to the kinds of stories they tell in the books that we read. Okay, and try to use them to help you write your story. The first master writer we're going to talk about is Jane Yolen. She wrote Owl Moon. And if you don't know the story, Owl Moon is about a time when Jane's daughter went looking for owls one night with her dad. Jane thought that this small moment was so special that she chose to write a whole story about it. Okay? And one of the things I love about this story is the way it begins. And for many of us as writers, the hardest part of the story is starting. So we're not going to write any stories this year with Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time was fine back in the days of diapers, back when we lived in the land of unicorns and cupcakes. Now we're writers. Let's look at how Owl Moon begins. It was late one night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us a train whistle blew, long and low, like a sad, sad song. Okay, so this doesn't begin with Once Upon a Time. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime. So, what do we know? It's nighttime, it's late, and it's winter. Look how much information she tells us just in the beginning. And then she says, there was no wind. The trees stood still. Oh, so now we have some more information. Maybe nothing was moving. Okay, the trees are as giant statues. This is a great way to open a story. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you some other ways that you can open a story and you can write them down, okay, and choose what works for you. So when we open our story, just like in many of the great books that we've read and we're going to read, we need to find a way to bring that reader into our writing, into our story. You're going to write about one of your special moments, and you've got to think of a good way to start it. So you might be thinking, how can I start? Well, there are very simple ways like using words like one or on, like one night, one cold morning, one rainy afternoon, late one Friday night. Or you can use ago, like 2 years ago, or on a hot summer day, or one rainy afternoon. And you'll notice that all of these have a comma. So this is something to remember. It's going to come up in our daily edits also. Okay, when you start a sentence talking about time, we usually use a comma. So you can use anything like this. You have other options as well. Try this. You can use when and while, like when I was in first grade, comma. When I was with my friend at the beach, comma. While I was watching TV with my sister one day, comma. While I was reading at the library, comma. As I was brushing my teeth one night, comma. As, it can be used the same way as while. You have so many choices. So I want you to think of a small moment, something that happened to you, and I just want you to write a beginning to your story. Tell me when it was and tell me where it was. Okay, like I could say, for example, while I was sleeping on the couch one morning, comma, and then talk about what happened. Now, some of you might have a problem and you're thinking, oh, Mr. P, I can't think of a small moment. Girls and boys, your small moment doesn't have to be something magical. It doesn't have to be something huge. It could be something very simple. Okay? It could be the first time you walked into a classroom, the first time you went to the dentist, or one time when you were on a train and how you felt when you were there. It can be very normal things. Okay? What happened one day at the boardwalk? Did you see someone special? Did you see an animal one day in your backyard? Did you try food for the first time that you weren't sure you were going to like? It can be any moment that you can think of, just a small moment. It doesn't have to be a big magical adventure. And we're telling true stories here. That's really important. So I want you to go to your writing spot, find a writing spot wherever you are, have some paper and a pencil, and think about what you'd like to write about. Maybe you can talk to somebody at home and see if they can think of a special moment that you've had, a small moment, and then use some way that we discussed to open your story. Start it. And remember, no once upon a time. Okay? You don't have to finish it. Let's just see if you can start it. Okay, boys and girls, I can't wait to see what you're going to write. Have a great day. The end.